I know without education how different my life could have been and would have been. And so education is my everything. Education is the one thing that can't be taken away from me. We can take away money, we can take away homes, we can take away cars. But the education you receive and the knowledge that you receive in that education is something that you will always have with you. It'll give you the strength and the power and the foundation to do whatever you want in this life. Anybody, regardless of where you were born, has a chance at success. Every single challenge we have in this country has actually been figured out. The problem is we have not figured it out to scale. We know that whether it's education, whether it's the environment, whether it's gang violence, whatever the case is, somewhere around the country, someone has figured out how it works and how exactly we can solve it. So the bigger question we then have is, how do we identify them? How do we find them? How do we give them the resources that they need to make sure that it isn't just their small constituency that's affected, but it's our entire society who can then benefit from it? I think the thing I most took away from my service in the armed forces is actually a bit counterintuitive. It's actually this very entrepreneurial spirit. There is a sense of order and structure to the military, but the fact is, the things that we did every single day, there was no one day that was the same as the day before. You had to adapt, you had to adjust. Like people always say, the first casualty is always the plan. Regardless of what circumstances thrown in your way, you've got to figure out a way to adjust to it, regardless of the path that you need to take to get there. I think the thing that inspired me to write this book was the fact that I really began to understand how thin that line is between our life and someone else's life. I feel like in society so far, we're just far too quick to cast judgment, to dismiss, to set low expectations. And sometimes when we look at the conclusion of where people are, we can come up with these quick, rash, and sometimes incorrect judgments as to who they are and how they got there. One of the big messages I want readers to take away from the other Wes Moore was actually a story when I was speaking with Wes. And I asked him about Baltimore, and I said, so do you think that we're products of our environment? And Wes looked back at me and he said, actually, I think we're products of our expectations. So really what I wanted to try to do with this story was to not just change the way people think of themselves, but really also change the way that we think of other people as well.